Let's go! Yes, sir! Kyle Parker commits to LSU. Give me some good mojo in the comment section today because, as you guys know on this channel, we always cheer for 3 stars. But what makes this very interesting is that this isn't the typical Louisiana 3-star story. This is a Texas 3-star wide receiver. And as many of you know, this is by far the biggest recruiting announcement today regarding the state of Texas. Of course, I will at the end of the video talk just a little bit about Arch. Anyway, I want to focus on Kyle Parker today because obviously this is very nice. LSU getting their second commitment for the class of 2023 at wide receiver. Omarion Miller, though, of course, decommitted. So as of right now, Kyle Parker, these shakes are so nasty in the background. Kyle Parker right now is the only wide receiver committed to LSU at this very moment. So first thing here is Kyle Parker is not a big guy, but in just a second I'm going to share with you a very interesting stat surrounding that very thing because I do think there could be some potential room to grow. Now, how big you get, a lot of that's genetics and just good luck, but something that's very fascinating about Kyle Parker when it comes to recruits in this class, we'll get to that in a second, but really just a basic view right now of my evaluation of him, he's really good. Obviously, if you're small like that, a lot of people view you more as a slot receiver, but as you've seen in this tape, he gets up and catches the football at its highest point. He is really good at contested catches, and that is not normal for smaller receivers. Normally, those guys are mostly slot assassins. But one of my favorite things about Kyle Parker is that you do see a variety of domination in here. It's not all just deep routes. Some of it are comebacks, hitches, slants. That's something that I really like a lot out of this position. And this is also very fascinating. We've talked about this a lot on the channel. LSU has mostly been dominated by Louisiana wide receivers. And I've brought this up a few times. I've always wondered, why does LSU go out of state to recruit any wide receivers anyway? I do feel different, though, about this. And I'm not just saying this because Kyle Parker is committed. It's that LSU hasn't really had a lot of success recruiting wide receivers over this past year. As many of you know, in the state of Louisiana, the top pass catchers all went to Alabama. They only brought in Landon Ibieta, who I'm very high on, but still, they only brought in one wide receiver in this past crop. And I know LSU's current room is very young, but for me, I still think they need to get more wide receivers, not less. So obviously Kayshawn will be gone after this year. You have 2 more years of Jack Besh, 2 more years of Malik Neighbors, 2 more years of BTJ. Maybe you get an extra year out of any one of those 3, and then you do hope for the best regarding Chris Hilton for the future. But still, getting any wide receivers to come into your program is really good. Pro Football Focus's their WAA metric views wide receiver as the second most important position in the college game. I tend to agree with that, and unlike quarterback, you got to have multiple wide receivers for you to be successful. So for me, I'm really excited about Kyle Parker simply because LSU just needed to get a wide receiver on board. Now, obviously, the next few targets are going to be very interesting. I still believe Shelton Sampson is on a different class of all the other Louisiana wide receivers. So LSU's really going to put the full-on press for the 5-star out of Baton Rouge. And then after that, Kai Prean is a very interesting player out of St. James. Just because there's only a few other highly ranked wide receivers in Louisiana, Shelton Sampson, Kai Prean, and Omarion Miller, doesn't mean that there can't be more that come out of the woodwork. So, you know, we've shared this stat plenty of times. There has been no out-of-state wide receiver that has caught more than 30 passes at LSU since Terrence Tolliver in 2010. So think about all that wide receiver dominations LSU has had over the past decade. It has mostly been in-state wide receivers. In fact, LSU's missed on some in-state wide receivers. They've gone on to win Heisman trophies and have had a lot of success. And they still have been the best wide receiver school just with Louisiana prospects. Now, I want to share with you something a little bit deeper that I find to be very interesting about Kyle Parker that could actually see him move up in the recruiting rankings, and it's something that we don't talk a whole lot about, and that's age. I really like that catch because he found the weak spot right here in the coverage and just turned and was available for his quarterback on this blitz. If he didn't turn quickly, the quarterback would have been sacked, and now the exact opposite happens. He's obviously housing this touchdown. So, why does age matter? Well, it's simple. The younger you are, the more time theoretically your body has to grow. And I want to share with you a very interesting fact. LSU has had 5 wide receivers in the past decade go to Pro Bowls at the NFL level, okay? 3 of them were highly rated recruits, okay? Jamar Chase, obviously Odell Beckham Jr., and Jarvis Landry, okay? But LSU, very interestingly, had 2 other wide receivers make the Pro Bowl, one of which Justin Jefferson and the other DJ Chark, and they both did it despite being 3-star recruits. Now, there is something that both of them have in common. They were younger as recruits. And one thing that we forget is not all high school recruits come in at the same age. So, keep this in mind, okay? This is going to sound pretty crazy. There honestly are 19-year-old kids that are joining recruiting classes, and there's also 17-year-old kids. So, for instance, a guy like Leonard Fournette, he was a little bit older as a recruit, and someone like DJ Chark was younger. So if you use a date, let's just say July 30th, that's pretty much a day that everybody is on campus for the first time. DJ Chark actually had not turned 18 years old yet. In fact, our guy Kyle Parker, who you're watching in the background, doesn't turn 17 until this month. So, then we just mentioned that. I'm an idiot. Justin Jefferson also had a birthday in the month of June, and he also was a younger recruit. And if you dive a little bit deeper and you look at some of the best wide receivers in the NFL, a lot of them are 3-stars. And you guessed it, a lot of them were younger, okay? Mike Evans was younger. He was under 18. Brandon Cooks was younger. He was under 18. Same thing for Allen Robinson. Michael Thomas was also younger at about 18 years and 3 months. So, yes, there were some older 3-star recruits that turned out to be good receivers as well. But it is very interesting because, look, a lot of your evaluation as a player, your actual recruiting ranking, is oftentimes determined when you're a sophomore and junior, and that's when you are, of course, very young. Now, what's very interesting with, let's say, someone like DJ Chark, well, DJ Chark actually grew quite a bit. He was 6 foot, 170-something coming out of high school, and now at the NFL level, he is over 6'3", which makes a lot of sense. He was younger and hit a growth spurt. So, with Kyle Parker, that could also mean that he's not fully grown yet, especially if you are younger. So, just because you look at him and he is smaller, which he is, doesn't mean, number one, he's not done growing, and number two, it doesn't mean he can't get bigger. Boom! I'm looking at you. Yes, you. Comment down below your thoughts on the Kyle Parker commitment. And honestly, I think LSU could be in the running not only for Shelton Sampson, but another 5-star receiver, Jaylen Brown, out of Miami. He's also a little bit undersized, but 10.66 in the 100-meter, an unreal deep threat. So we'll see what happens there. Now, as far as Arch Manning is concerned, this wasn't ever really going to happen for LSU. So this shouldn't really shock anyone that's been watching the channel. I would be on the lookout for Ashton Stamps out of Rummel, a 3-star DB committing to LSU potentially soon as well. But, for me, Arch is a big story. He is arguably the biggest recruit ever. And I think Texas is actually a good landing spot for him. Will Randall, the tight end, just committed there, and we'll see what happens. Now, on tonight's live stream, many of you have already heard this, but I will go back over why I think Arch and Texas will more than likely flop. I do like the landing spot. There are a few things that just don't seem like this is going to work out. I'll talk about that tonight on the live stream. But the bottom line is, and I've gotten a lot of hate for this, it's fine. A lot of people have been calling me an Arch hater. I am not. I'm actually a big Manning fan. Eli and Peyton. The truth here, though, is there is no reason for this kid to be the nationally number one player on all services. That still just blows my mind that is happening. But still, we'll talk more on tonight's live stream if you're watching this on a premiere, okay? It is Power Hour LSU. Bam! Cal Parker. And tonight, there's some stuff floating in your face if you want to watch it. Tonight, we're doing some Scampi. Let's go.